podcast.
You listen to Kendrick and Matt on the Slip and Dip podcast.
Oh, beautiful, man. What is up, people? Welcome back to the Slip and Dip podcast. I am Matthew Wells. Alongside me, as always, Kendrick Johnson, coming to you on the heels of UFC Shenzhen, China, where we saw and knew. On the heels of Lomachenko doing his thing. We're going to talk about both of those here in just a few minutes. But man, it was a pretty damn good pretty fun weekend in World Combat Sports. Would you agree?
Fights all across the globe, literally. That fits the thing for the show with our guests appearing from all over the world, literally.
Absolutely. And this week we do have Mr. David Benavidez on the show, getting ready to reclaim his WBC super middleweight belt from Anthony Durrell. Dan Lambert, owner, manager, coach, American Top Team, one of the largest gyms in the world. You guys all know ATT.
Ari in Dubai.
And Chisanga Malata coming to us straight from London. One of the best journalists in the world as well, covering combat sports. So 3 fantastic guests for you guys on this show. So before we get to that, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened this weekend. I guess we'll start off on the boxing side of things. Man. So break out the hashtags, man. Hashtag no Lomachenko, even though he didn't get the stoppage this time, but he did get a knockdown.
He said, hashtag one more belt. Undisputed.
One more belt.
Undisputed
Exactly.
lightweight champ.
Man, he just goes out every time, and just he's I think the most exciting fighter to watch. That's not going to produce a knockout like a Deontay Wilder every time. You know what I mean? Like, he's exciting to watch from, like, the technical standpoint.
His high tech is not a bullshit nickname.
Yeah. Not a lot about that.
They found that for a reason.
100%. Yeah. It's just to watch his technical, like, his footwork, the way he picks apart opponents. You know, you can see him, as to say, like, the downloading of the information early on in the fight, first couple of rounds, and then he just starts to go to work. He's like, all right, I got enough. And props to Campbell for staying in there with him for a little bit.
Well, what's how he stayed in there with him? He brought the fight to him. He caught Lomachenko. The turning point of the fight was he catches Lomachenko the 7th round, starts to try to put some work in, and it's like a switch click on. Lomachenko's like, you know who I am. Watch this. He just goes to work, hurts the dude. If he had 10 more seconds, would have stopped him in the same round he got hurt. Probably the most hurt he's been his whole career. That's what you call greatness.
Yeah. I mean, he was winning the fight way before that. But I agree with you.
It was close. I actually had it 3-3 after 6. He was winning that round, and he took over from the rest of. I had it 3-3 through 6. It's very competitive for 6.
Man, I had Luke winning 2 rounds. That's what I had. I had him winning 2 rounds.
I had winning the first. I had
him winning the first round for sure. I had him winning the first round. I think the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, 3-3 after 6, and then the last 6 was all Lomachenko. They call championship rounds for a reason. He showed why he's that guy.
Oh yeah.
Last 3, he really put it on him.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that 7th round, he gets hurt, and then he just puts all kinds of pressure, catches it with a body shot. That was beautiful boxing. But y'all boxing people, don't be sitting there sending me random messages, and I got text messages from people in the community. Floyd didn't have to go through that type of adversity.
Stop.
Why do y'all need to go through adversity to be a great champion? It's cool that Lomachenko did it, but the idea is to not go through adversity and get your hand raised. That's what he did for 20 years.
Yeah, the notion that you got to prove that you have a chin and that you can get beat up and then come back is absolutely unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Lomachenko did not plan to get caught. He got caught with something he didn't see.
Yeah, that whole notion I will never get on board with. I'm sorry. And for anybody that believes in that, I encourage you to actually go train in a gym and see how many people want to embody that notion. It's very few people want to go out there and prove that they can get hit and keep going. It's just a ridiculous notion to think that people will have that thing that.
What do you think about the ESPN commentary? They were terrible.
I don't know if they were terrible.
Nobody likes to get hit to the body. Tell me something I don't know. Nobody likes to get hit to the body. The coolest thing they said was he just downloaded information.
Yeah, I mean everybody says that though. That's a broken record at this point. You know, that's what everybody says every fight about him. But Timothy Bradley, he was doing all right for the most part. But he's like, yeah, nobody likes to get hit to the body. Well, nobody likes to get hit to the head either. I mean, listen, you're gonna say things when you're commentating that maybe you feel comfortable with when you look back on it, and maybe you're like, I probably could have said something different. I know firsthand, trust me. I know this firsthand. But props to Lomachenko getting it done. You know, looking for that fourth one. I heard Tank Davis dropped his belt and is going to be moving
to 135.
Yeah, I saw that on Facebook. I don't know if that's real or not, but I did see that on Facebook.
I put some feelers. I'll make a call to PBC tomorrow.
Yeah, we need to confirm that. I did see those rumors flying around, but we need some confirmation on that before we fully run with it. So yeah, let's hop over to the UFC side of things. We do have the breaking news. It's not breaking news, but hey, you know what? UFC crowned a new champion in the middle of the morning for us, early in the morning for us.
8 o'clock. I literally woke up without an alarm clock and then walk into the ring. So I saw that was an exciting 1 minute fight.
Yes.
They did a replay of Cyborg and Nunez. Hey, I'm a bandit. You're Chris. Let me get this belt.
Zhang Weili going out there and putting those hands on her, and
Muay Thai game was on point too.
Yeah, it was a beautiful performance. First round, exciting title fight. And I said this, after I got up and caught up with everything. It was like the strawweight division has produced the most exciting title fights since its inception.
Saw one of them.
More than any other division. And I can't name any other division.
Do you think they're all excited? Just more like holy shit moments.
That's exciting. That's exciting. There's not one division since UFC 185, which was the first one. There's not been any more in any division across the board than strawweight title fights, because there was a lot of fights that Johanna had that were very exciting. She had everything. She had the starching fight. She had the comebacks. She had the back and forth battles.
She had the Lomachenko stop, the shutout.
She had the knockout losses. She had everything.
She had knockout losses. She had knockout one.
I mean, knockout loss. Okay. She had everything. And of course, Rose Namajunas, Andrade, that fight, man, it was just...
But what this shows to me is how great she was. She defended the belt almost as many times as Ronda. It was that easy. Everybody was doing it 5 or 6 times. So it makes her run look even that much better. It just, Rose is a bad style matchup for her. Just like Amanda Nunes is a bad style matchup for Valentina.
Yeah.
That's what it cracks down to, because I think she'll beat Weili Zhang. It'd be an interesting fight, but I think with her experience and her size and the fact that she's hungry for another belt to be able to walk away as a 2-time champion, I think that's be the fight. Assuming that she gets to Michelle Karate Hottie. We know Michelle's a tough customer, but I think size will be the difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, and yes, it will. And I think. Obviously the winner of that fight deserves that next shot with Tatiana Suarez right there behind that person, whoever that may be, whoever emerges from that. And I think strawweight, the title picture is pretty clear right now. Unless that fight ends up being a snooze fest, which I don't see how it could be.
Who?
Joanna and Michelle.
What if it is though? What if it's like she did against Jessica? To technical people like us, we like it, but the general fan didn't like that performance because she was flawless and she did her thing. Yeah. But what she clearly easily won. But for the people in Dallas, they thought it was a snooze fest.
Just saying, if it is a snooze fest, so to speak, and Tatiana gets on Twitter or Tatiana's in the arena and she cuts a fire promo, who knows what could happen in the UFC these days? Who knows? But props to Zhang Weili. Getting it done, man. She's has the potential. If she can rattle off a couple more wins with this title,
she'll be a legend. She'll be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, being from China, man, that fan base is going to be huge.
She'll be like Yao Ming or remember the Dallas Maverick game, Wang Zhu.
Oh yeah. Wow, that's a name not a lot of people will recognize right off the bat. So yeah, props to her, man. And really, I didn't watch much else of actually. Let me be completely honest. I didn't watch anything else on that card.
I literally woke up and watched the main event and saw it live.
I tried to. Okay, I take it back.
Actually, I literally watched it in my bed. Like my phone's on the headstand. I'm like sitting there like laying in bed, like looking like this, and like, okay, they going at it. Okay, this might end real quick. Okay, she got out of there. Yeah, that's exactly how I was doing.
Yeah, I did watch the very first fight. I would take that back. I watched the very first fight. I stayed up because it started at 2:00 our time.
Yeah,
for the early prelims. So I did stay up, and then the very first fight was boring. I was like, I'm out. Peace. And I fell asleep, and I woke up at like 9 o'clock. I forget what time I woke up, but when I woke up, the whole card was over. So I just went and caught back up on everything. But yeah. So let's talk about, obviously, the event coming up. We got UFC 242 on deck. Man, it's the big one, right? Khabib, Dustin, Abu Dhabi, Saturday, September 7th.
We'll actually be watching this together since it'll be in the middle of the day. Won't be no trips to Hooters this time.
You're the one that always goes to Hooters, man. That's you. That's you living that.
Holla at your boy Hooters on fight night. We trying to grow the show. Get the co-host out there. He don't want to mingle with y'all. I'm trying to induce y'all to what's really going on.
Right. I believe I can reach more people online sitting at home than I can at a random Hooters.
Yeah, your phone travel. You can tweet from the restaurant.
Okay. So yeah, obviously the main event, lightweight titles on the line. Dustin Poirier, Khabib Nurmagomedov. It's going down, man. We'll pull up our predictions here in just a few minutes because we make our picks for the pay-per-view cards that we started doing. I'm so torn on this fight because I like Dustin. I like this wave that he's riding, man. But there's always it's a huge but. It's a huge but every time. Can you deal with that pressure that Khabib's going to bring? That's always the question, right? That's the question for everybody. Because he's got the hand speed. He's got that Michael Johnson hand speed to put his paws on him. But can he handle that pressure?
I will say this: if he catches him like Michael Johnson, he's smart enough and proven he's more of a killer, and he wouldn't finish Khabib if he had him in that same position.
I don't know if I agree with that because he takes a lot of damage. But he can take no damage if he catches with a 1-2 like Michael Johnson. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, listen, I want to see Dustin win. I want to see him win. I really do. And he's kind of going into enemy territory a little bit. That crowd is going to be very pro-Khabib.
Very. Very
pro-Khabib. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, man. It will be. And I know everybody's going to be tuned into that. That card starts at 1 p.m. Central Time for us for the main card. And it's a, 5 fight main card. Main event, or the co-main event, do you have any picks on, or anything to speak on for Edson Barboza and Paul Felder?
I like Paul. He doesn't make any adjustments. Edison's just the better fighter.
Gotcha. Yeah. At this point in his career, man, I don't know what to expect from Edson Barboza anymore. You know, he's had his obviously he's had his highlight reel moments, but it seems like when the pressure gets hard, he starts to fade. Like obviously, like it just seems like his gas tank's gone in times. It's kind of a weird thing, and I think Paul Felder is a guy that is still very, very, very much hungry to still make a statement in his career. And I don't know if Edson still has that. So we'll see. But let's go ahead and pop up our predictions for the card real quick here. And we'll go over it and where we currently stand. So here we are. So currently, UFC 241 was the first time we started this. It wasn't a good night for us. Kendrick went 1-4.
First losing night in 3 years. Just saying. You know that. You know because you know it's true.
Kendrick went 1-4. I went 2-3.
First losing card in 3 years. We started this picking crazy.
And it's gonna be a little bit more there's gonna be more separation after this card. Obviously in the main event we both got Khabib officially. Again, like I said, unofficially, I want Dustin to win. I do. I'm essentially riding the fence on that.
Put your name on it.
I did. I put my name on Khabib.
Put your face on it.
I put my face on Khabib. But again, my heart's on the side with Dustin. My heart's on that side. But you're going with Edson in the co-main. I'm going with Paul Felder. You're going Islam Makhachev, Khabib's homeboy. I'm going with Davi Ramos. We're both going with Curtis Blades. We're both going with Diego Ferreira. Fortis MMA represents in the opening bout on the main card. So we will see how that plays out, man. Yeah, more separation. Maybe you'll gain a fight or two back. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
3 years out of losing card.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, man. That's why making predictions in MMA is kind of a fickle and unnecessary thing to do. But hey, we do it. It's fun. And just make sure you don't go as hard as Brendan Schaub did talking about the title fight when he was saying that Jessica Andrade was basically in a steamroll in Shang Wali, and obviously the exact opposite of that happened. So, is what it is. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into these interviews, man. We got David Benavidez, Dan Lambert, and Chisanga Malata on deck for you guys. You guys are gonna enjoy these chats. Fun guest of the show, and yeah, we'll be back later this week after UFC 242. We might have something special during the middle of the week, but we'll see how it plays out. Obviously, Labor Day on Monday, so I gotta enjoy my day off. You know, it is what it is. But yeah, let's get into it. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends. If you're listening on iTunes, please leave a 5-star review. We would appreciate that as well. And if you're feeling generous, hit that Venmo, hit that Cash App. Those links are right there in the video description for you. Show some love for the show. We would appreciate it. Anything else before we get to these interviews?
Nope.
All right. Till next week, guys. Enjoy the rest of the show. Peace.
Please welcome to the Slip and Dip podcast, making Slip and Dip debut, the owner of the Gym of Champions, Mr. Dan Lambert, owner of ATT, aka American Top Team, out of Coconut Creek, Florida. When you bought this thing in 2001, did you think you could get this big, this within 2 decades, or did you have a plan, or just even outside of your expectations?
You know, when we started, actually, we started in '95, and we were pretty much just a grappling team. We would travel across the country and do jiu-jitsu tournaments, and then we had a couple of guys want to fight. You know, Conan at the time, he was fighting, but, you know, fighting wasn't much to speak of. There weren't very many shows. They were few and far between, and we were more grappling-based. And then as we grew, a couple guys wanted to fight, so some of the younger guys started fighting. And then we just kind of grew as the sport grew. So, no, when we started, we were just kind of like a guys club doing grappling. We had no expectations whatsoever about either the sport getting big or us getting big.
So when you're just walking through the gym and stuff, you see Joanna over here, Amanda Nunes over here, you see Dustin over here. Does that just blow your mind, like all these champions and future UFC Hall of Famers, like honing their skills under your watch?
It's fucking crazy, man. I'm an MMA nerd. I'm a fan. Like you guys, like everybody else. I just love the sport. And you know, you walk in the gym and you see the collection of talent there and the people that have, you know, found their way to the gym over the years. It's kind of crazy. You walk in there and you see who's on that mat at the same time together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're out in Abu Dhabi right now, obviously getting ready for the biggest fight, one of the biggest fights of the year, between one of your products that Kendrick just mentioned, Dustin Poirier. How has he been looking? Because to me, it feels like he's on this wave. You know, we see fighters sometimes they catch this wave of momentum, and it seems like Dustin Poirier is on that. And obviously, he's in a title fight against, you know, one of the most dominating fighters of this time right now. So, how's he been looking, getting ready for this big moment?
Dustin looks great. I mean, it's more like a tidal wave than it is a wave. I mean, you look at the run this guy's on. I mean, shit, look at the guys he's fought and beat and finished along the way. You know, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, who, I mean, God, you talk about UFC Hall of Famers. I mean, that guy is as good as it gets. He's fighting these guys. He's finishing everybody. He tops it off by winning a decision against Max, who hasn't lost a fight, it seems like, this decade. He's on a crazy run against the best of the best. The fights are all fight of the year candidates. And, man, if he can finish this one off against Khabib, I think it'll be the greatest run in the history of the sport.
Isn't it crazy? It's like not too long ago, he got knocked out by Michael Johnson. And it's like ever since that, it's like Michael Johnson's not even ranked anymore. Dustin Poirier has just been like this extreme wave of momentum. And he's the guy that seems almost unbeatable at this moment. It's kind of weird how it works in MMA like that sometimes, right? MMA is
a strange sport. You know, you lose a fight and you're a bum and you're done and everybody writes you off. And, you know, I tell guys after a loss, I'm like, dude, come back and win the next one. And nobody remembers that one. That's the great thing about this sport. You're always in it. You win a fight, you win the next fight, you win the next fight. All of a sudden you're in the top 10 and then you're in the title mix. And, you know, only you can control your own destiny in this sport. And, yeah, I mean, I think Dustin's made a lot of improvements since then. Dustin used to be, you know, he's a fighter at heart, every sense of the word. He wants to come out there and kill or be killed. But I think he wisened up after that fight and realized, hey, man, let me work my defense as well as my offense. This isn't just about going out and proving whose balls are the biggest and swinging for the fences early and often. He still swings hard and swings for the fences, but he does it much more tactfully. And his boxing gotten so good. You know, it's funny you bring up Michael Johnson. I mean, two of that guy's last 3 or 4 wins, which have been spread out over a long time because he's had a lot of losses mixed in. But they're against Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier by knockout, two of the best fighters in the world in any division, much less just the lightweight division. So, I mean, that's a dangerous guy who can stop anybody at any given time. But, man, yeah, their paths have gone in different directions since that fight for sure.
Do you think that Khabib is the unbeatable force that everybody's building him up to be? Because Michael Johnson put the blueprint on how to beat him. It's just doing it. It's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's 27-0 or whatever he is for a reason. He's that good. But I mean, but Dustin's a dangerous dude. I mean, that's going to be a hard guy to be standing in front of for 5 rounds. I mean, he's going to have to. Can Khabib impose his will on Dustin for a round or 2 rounds or 3 rounds? I mean, he could probably. I was going to say he could probably do it against a bear, but I think I've seen video of him doing it to a bear. So there's no doubt he can. But can he do that for 5 rounds? I mean, Dustin's a scary dude to be standing in front of for 5 rounds. And if Dustin's standing in front of him in the 4th round, like Al Iaquinta was, like Conor was, I think Khabib might be in a little world of hurt because Dustin's going to keep getting better as the fight goes on, and that guy hits hard.
Yeah. What would the rank at for your gym and everything y'all built if he would have pulled off that big upset Saturday afternoon?
Man, it'd first and foremost, it'd be great for him as an individual. I mean, there's such a difference between being a title contender and a champion in the UFC, and not just in terms of how much money you make. And at the end of the day, that's what these guys are in it for, and that's a huge deal. But just for what happens next, you're making big money in your next fight and the fight after that, and even as an ex-champion, you're making much better money. And then after you retire, I mean, as an ex-UFC champion, you have a value in the seminar circuit and doing appearances and whatnot. So it's such a huge difference. I talk sometimes to Jeff Munson, and he often says, man, how different his life would have been had he won that fight against Tim Sylvia, regardless of what happened to him after that. He's like, man, it's just if I was an ex-champion, my life would be so different now. So it'd be huge for him. Obviously, for the gym, it'd be huge, too. Seeing guys stick around that long and be that determined and have that number of setbacks and just keep fighting. It just sets such an example for the other fighters in the gym to strive to. And I mean, Dustin's already a champ. I mean, he's got a belt, and I know sometimes people say interim belts don't count, but I mean, he beat Max fucking Holloway for his belt. So, mad props to Khabib and the run he's on, but he beat Al Iaquinta, who took a fight on really short notice, expecting to fight somebody else.
I was there. 24. It was less than 24 hours.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not putting Dustin in second position in this fight by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, it'd be great for Dustin. It'd be great for the gym. It'd be great for everybody in the gym.
Dan, you say you're an MMA nerd. Do you watch boxing by chance?
I grew up as big a boxing fan as you will ever find. And then when MMA came about in '93, the first UFC, I just kind of stopped watching it. I mean, I used to live for boxing. I watched everything. I spent $9 on the Battle of the Cruiserweight tournament when Evander Holyfield gave up the cruiserweight belts to go to heavyweight, and they had like a 4-man tournament. One guy had a fake leg in the tournament. I was watching that shit back then. But no, I've lost touch with it. MMA is just so much more exciting to me. I guess it's just because there's so many different ways to win a fight, and it's not just star driven. Sure, the pay-per-view buys are gonna, certainly go up and down depending on certain stars that are on the main event. But I mean, you go to an MMA show and everybody's there from the first fight or the second fight or the third fight. You go to boxing, everybody gets there just for the main event. The only reason they're there for the fight before that is they don't want to miss the main event in case there's an early knockout. Boxing is so star driven, whereas MMA is much more fight driven in my opinion. And the second fight on the card could be the best fight of the show. Mm-hmm. I've really lost my interest in boxing over the years.
The only reason I bought boxing was because Dustin's the interim champ. Do you think they need like a lineal champion to keep people from being confused and know who's the man? Since in all these divisions you won't have quote unquote make believe belts.
It's really strange the way that the MMA system works. I mean, they pick who they want to fight for the belt at one particular time. I don't really know what the rankings mean. I mean, the fight just yesterday, I'm trying to get my timing straight because I'm in a different part of the world on a different time clock. But the fight yesterday, I mean, the girl that fought Andrade, she was ranked number 6, yet she came out and starched her. And was she deserving of a title shot? I don't know. She was ranked 6th. Did they put her in that fight because the show was in China, and they would love to have a Chinese champion, what it can mean for opening the doors in that market. So, and everybody's thinking that Andrade's going to run her over, but then she comes out and steamrolls her. So I don't really know. It's the belts are a weird thing. I think winning a UFC belt is the most difficult thing in the world, just because it's not just a matter of going through like a murderer's row to earn your title shot, especially in the deeper divisions like 155 and 170. But you got to go through that progression of beating who you have to beat to get there. And then you just have to hope that things play out the way you want them to play out so that you get the shot. I mean, Dustin wasn't supposed to fight Max for that interim belt. It was supposed to be Tony, who hasn't lost a fight since who the hell knows when. Probably that Michael Johnson fight, which was like 6 years ago or something like that. And he still can't get his undisputed title fight, So it's like whether a personal problem happens or somebody gets hurt or just somebody's hot. I mean, the fact of the matter is if Conor wanted the rematch with Khabib right away and there hadn't been a suspension, who knows if Dustin would have gotten that shot. He had to wait for Tony to fall out of a fight just to get an interim title shot to beat Max Holloway for that, just to put himself in position for this. And that's after beating the guys that he beat the way he beat them to get to where he is. So it's, sometimes it falls into your lap, especially in some of the shallower divisions. But, man, in a division like 155, I don't think there's a bigger accomplishment in sports than winning that belt.
100%. You tapped on something kind of interesting there that's like been a point of mine over the past few days, obviously with Weili Zhang winning the title. Do you believe, like, if you're a champion in the UFC, you've got the belt, you're the man, you're the woman, you should be calling the shots. Like, shouldn't there be a thing to where if I have the belt, I don't have to go into enemy hostile territory to defend my belt? Shouldn't I be able to say, hey, let it be a neutral site. Don't let me go to China to fight the Chinese fighter. Shouldn't there be something like that? Like a champion's clause, so to speak.
I think one thing I've learned, if you want to call the shots as a fighter in the UFC, you better be a Conor or a Ronda or maybe a Nate Diaz right now and get to that place where, you can draw a lot of pay-per-views on your own. Because unless you're that guy or that girl, you don't have the say. And, if you're a champ and you want to get paid, the only way you're getting paid is by fighting. And if the UFC digs their heels in, they're going to make you fight where they want to fight and when they want to fight. At the end of the day, it is what it is, right? I mean, how much negotiating leverage did Jessica Andrade really have? She probably made a certain amount of money to fight for the belt, which isn't huge money. I mean, Amanda Nunes made $100,000 to fight for the title. And when she signed the contract that called for $100,000 in a title shot, she was thrilled to be getting a contract that even mentioned a title shot because she was still going to have to win a couple more fights to get to a title shot. So when you're signing these contracts to get a title shot, you're just thrilled to be even the thought of getting a title shot. You'll take that fight for $50,000 or $75,000 or $100,000. You're not a big star yet. You're still working your way up the ladder. Then you win the title, and Andrade wins that belt. What does she have sitting in the bank from that $100,000? It's not like she's in a position to really call the shots yet. Now, maybe if she went on a big streak and won 5 or 6 fights and became a draw, then she would have more say in fights. But just having a belt doesn't make you a signal caller in the UFC by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, it's so wild. It's so wild. But I mean, it is, like you said, it is what it is, right? And we go on. So let's talk about
winning solves everything.
Yes, 100% it does. And it's also kind of weird that we're in this time with the UFC where we don't know how well the pay-per-views are doing because we don't have access to those numbers anymore since they've gone to ESPN. So it's like, okay, we have champions fighting on the ESPN Plus show and we have no idea how many viewers actually watched it. I've always said, if you're a fan, you shouldn't care. But, for the journalist side of things, like we want to know how well these shows are doing, but we're not going to know anymore. And that's kind of unfortunate.
I mean, you have to assume that ESPN is a powerful ally to have in that business. And by putting results of shows on SportsCenter and pushing and hyping shows and highlights and whatnot, that eventually it's going to exceed the base of pay-per-views that they had just on cable and regular satellite. I don't know what the time period to get to that is. I don't know what the first few shows have done. It's anybody's guess. And, sometimes the UFC isn't the greatest at sharing certain information with people unless they want them to know what that information is. So I guess we're just going to have to wait a little while. There's champions that have clauses where they get paid on pay-per-views. So they'll have access to that information eventually. Sometimes that information trickles out really slowly. But yeah, I don't know that I know people that are really frustrated by that double paywall, and it's not, and it's not a matter of paying $5 a month and a matter of paying the $50 or $60 to get the pay-per-view. It's just, people my age are like, fuck, I don't know how to load shit on my TV. What's a smart TV? What's an app? Fuck that. Can't I just call my company and tell them I want it and charge me my $50? And they don't watch the shows because they're just not savvy enough or patient enough, or their kids are off in college and do all their technical stuff for them and they don't buy it. Eventually they'll probably figure it out, or kid will come home and say, oh, Dad, I'll set it up for you. And then they'll have it and then it's easy. So I guess it's just going to be a process. But if I had to guess, I think pay-per-view will be where it was prior to that move and hopefully higher.
So can we talk about okay. So can we talk about another champion that you've got, I guess former interim champion now, and Colby Covington. He's getting ready to face Kamaru Usman. We're hearing the rumors that it's going to be the MSG show. Is that what it's looking like on your end? That's what you're hearing?
Well, that's the show they wanted at. I know Colby wants to fight. I know Kamaru wants to fight. But it's nothing signed yet. And until it's signed, who knows? Those guys are both have to get their contract situation sorted out with the UFC and get everything locked in. And it's November's coming quick. And I know they like big shows in Madison Square Garden. And if you do the math and you look at which champions are available or are going to be available or just fought or already have another fight lined up, there's not a lot of them out there. So that fight makes the most sense. So I would expect that fight to happen.
Very cool.
Well, first of all, I'm asking about Jorge Masvidal. Then I'm gonna throw out some names of people in your gym, and I want you to tell me what you think about them. But with Jorge, does he have to get the belt for him to get the credit that he wants and he needs, or is he cool in fighting these high dollar fights and just making the money and just seeing where that takes him?
I think my answer to that is yes. George wants the money and he wants that notoriety that he's been around. I mean, people throw around the term OG a lot. This guy's an OG. George is the OG. I mean, he really is. This guy has been doing this as long or longer than anybody, and it's so cool to see him hitting his groove now. It's kind of crazy that he's doing it so late in his career, but man, George is a beast, and when he comes to fight, man, he's going to be hard to beat, and I think he's actually reached that. Connor's a crazy name to even throw in a sentence with anybody else because there's really only one Connor. But, the Cowboy Cerrones and the Nate Diaz's out there, there's only a few guys like that people just really like, really relate to, and really want to see fight, win or lose. And I think George, over this last couple of fights, I think he's hit that status. So he wants a belt. He wants to get paid. I think he'd rather they get paid than get a belt if he only had his choice of one. But I think he'd like to get both.
So when he landed that knee, what were you? Were you like a fan? Like, I was like, holy shit! Are you like, I knew it was coming since you had behind the scenes access that we don't got. How when he pulled it off, how'd that like trip you out? Did you have an idea? Like they said, we're gonna run with because he said he was gonna go off the rip with the knee. So did you have an idea that he's gonna try it?
It was mind-boggling because the night before he grabbed me, he's like, dude, I'm going to lean up against the fence with my hands behind my back, and I am going to sprint at this motherfucker. He is going to bend down to his left like he always does, and I'm going to aim for his clavicle. And I'm either going to land it, and I'm going to break it, and end the fight right there, or I'm going to miss. But if I miss, I'm going to hit him in the side of the head, and I'm going to knock him unconscious. So I'm either going to hit his clavicle, or I'm going to hit him in the head and knock him out. But I'm not aiming for his head because if I miss that, then I miss it, and I end up probably on the bottom where I don't want to be. And then and I saw him lean up against the fence, and I see his hands behind him, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, this dude's really going to do it. I thought he was bullshitting me. And then he shoots out of a cannon, and I just heard this. I heard the impact, and I was like, did I just see what I just saw? And it's like, holy fuck! I mean, that's as crazy a knockout as you're ever going to see. And I saw somebody screenshot Ben on the ground stiff and George on the ground after he landed, and the clock was at 4 minutes and 58 seconds. So, I mean, really, Ben was unconscious, laid out in 2 seconds. I mean, that's just – and it's Ben Askren. I mean, if somebody did that on the first fight of the prelims, it'd be a crazy accomplishment. If somebody did that in a local show, it would be a crazy knockout. But to do that International Fight Week against undefeated Ben Askren, I mean, that's just, with that build up to the fight, that was nuts.
You say you still tripping out on it. It's like it happened last night.
I am. It's like it's just fucking. It's just I still can't believe I saw what I saw.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
And the crazy thing, like, not only did it just spark this whole momentum for Masvidal, but on the flip side, all of a sudden Ben Askren's a bum. Like, I hate that. I hate that with the MMA fan. Like, I hate that they jump to that conclusion. Like, you lose a fight, you're a bum.
It's stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, like I said it earlier, you lose a fight and you suck, but you come and you win your next one, and nobody remembers that one anymore. So Ben comes back, he's fighting Damian Maia. If Ben wins that fight convincingly, has a good showing, people will be right back on him again. It's just a strange sport, and luckily for Ben, he's the one who gets to control that. He goes and wins his next 3, 4, 5 fights. He's fighting for a belt, and right where he wants to be.
100%.
Here goes some name recognition. I'm gonna throw out 5 names. Tell me what you think. Dustin Poirier.
It's just the guy. He basically stands for everything you want in a fighter in your gym. The guy just comes. He trains his ass off. He fights whoever the UFC tells him to fight, when they tell him, where they tell him. Every fight he has is a fight of the year candidate, and the things that he's gone through in his career, he's had some setbacks. You mentioned the Michael Johnson setback. I mean, you throw in the Conor McGregor setback. He's had some setbacks, and he's gotten himself to a position where he's right where he wants to be, and then he's had a setback. And for him to just keep scrapping and keep fighting to get where he is right now, it's just, man, you can't help but be proud for a guy like that and root for a guy like that.
Amanda Nunes.
Beast. She's just a beast. I mean, there's people that, this is a tough sport. I mean, everybody trains hard. Everybody's in good shape. Everybody's well-rounded. And there's nobody at least in our gym, that I say, oh, nobody's going to beat this guy. Nobody's going to beat this girl. I mean, anybody can beat anybody in this sport. You see how it works. We've had guys on the wrong end of huge upsets. We've had guys on the right end of huge upsets. So I never say there's no way this guy or this girl's losing. But, man, I don't know any way this girl's going to lose. She's just that good.
Yeah.
She is. I mean, she moves, hits, grapples, punches, takes down like a guy. I mean, she just really does. I mean, it's just and I mean that as a compliment. I mean, she's so athletic. She's so accurate. She's so strong. She's fast. Everybody gets hit right at the end of her punches. She's just, man, she's fucking really good. I don't know who's going to beat her.
My nickname for her is the GWOAT, greatest woman of all time, GWOAT. The GWOAT. Man,
I think she's scratching the greatest of all time, male or female category right now. I mean, she's finishing champions and ex-champions in the first round, in the first minute. I mean, Ronda didn't last a minute. Cyborg didn't last a minute. Misha Tate, she lasted more than a minute, but she probably wishes she hadn't. Right. It was the worst couple minutes of her life. I mean, Holly, she's just running people over, and these are high level, highly accomplished fighters that she's running over. She's taking like no damage in return. I mean, I talked about Dustin's streak, and Dustin's, man, he's killing some legends out there, but he's taking his damage in the process. True. He's in fights. I mean, these people are putting it on him just like he's putting it on them. He probably doesn't want it any other way, knowing the way that guy thinks. But I mean, people aren't even laying a finger on Amanda. It's pretty impressive.
Kiyoshi Horiguchi.
Man, I just said we've had people on the wrong end of some upsets. I mean, Kyoji's as good a fighter as I've ever seen at our gym. I mean, just full package. The guy, the way he trains, he's a tremendous athlete. He's athletic as hell. He trains harder than anybody at our gym probably. He's so dedicated. All he wants to do is fight. All he wants to do is get better. He's good at everything he does. And he lost to a guy who was relatively unknown. I mean, the guy was a lot bigger, a lot stronger. The guy landed a big shot. It can happen to anybody. But, man, Kyoji he's a really, really good fighter. He's still got his title in Rising. He's still got his title in Bellator. I'm sure Rising wants that rematch. Kyoji wants that rematch. And I'm expecting him to win it.
Joanna Jędrzejczyk.
Joanna is as good as it gets in the history of women's MMA. She had a crazy meteoric rise. I think some of the women have caught up to her a little bit. I think she was ahead of that curve, and women's MMA is starting to catch up. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say they're where guys are, but how could they be? The guys started doing this in the 90s, and the girls started doing this like 10 years ago. So they had a big head start. Some got out to a quicker pace than others did, including Joanna. The rest of the pack started catching up, and I think Joanna realizes that and just knows she's got to work harder. And, she's determined, and she's got a crazy mindset for this game, and she's training hard, and she wants that belt back. And she's mentally tough. She's physically tough. And I think if she wins her next fight, she's probably getting the first shot at the champ. So we're excited for that.
I agree. 100%. And last but not least, Colby Covington. And what do you think about the whole character and everything? Some people take it personal. Some people want to fight him. Some people think it's funny. Some people call it a gimmick. I call it real life. I think it's cool that you can come in with a non-UFC belt to the octagon. You're a bad dude. And nobody says nothing about it.
I'll correct you on one of those. It's not some people want to fight him. Everybody wants to fight him. I mean, this guy, he can't go anywhere UFC related without someone. Everybody wants to be the guy to take down Colby. Problem is, when you get into a cage in a 5-round fight with Colby, taking that guy down is not going to be as easy as you think it might be. I mean, he breaks guys. I mean, he is in your face, and he is pressure from the first second of the first minute of the first round, and that pressure is not going away until that fight's over. The guy just goes forever. I remember one time somebody at the gym saying something, "Hey man, take a break, you're probably tired." And he's like, "No, I'm not tired." I'm like, "Well, how can you not be tired? You just did this, this, and this." He's like, "I don't get tired." And he wasn't kidding. He's just, I don't fucking get tired. It's just not something I do. And he's, he was out for a year. He had some issues with the UFC. He had some hurdles in getting things lined up, and he took that year and he got better. He focused on his striking. He knew where his wrestling was. Like, I'm going to get my striking better. And man, you saw what he did against Robbie. I mean, he threw more strikes than anybody in the history of the UFC. And there's different ways to be effective with your striking. Every punch doesn't have to knock a guy out or be swinging 100%. For the fences. I mean, he was really effective with his striking in setting up the rest of his game and touching him up, and more importantly, taking him out of his game. So until you get in there with a guy who's going to throw 600 and whatever strikes at you and mix it in with 10 or 12 takedowns and just be in your face from the first second of the first round till the end, it's really a frustrating guy to fight. So, everybody wants to fight him, but man, like they say, careful what you ask for, because he's going to be a tough out for anybody.
Yeah, 100%. I am a fan of Colby as a fighter. It's the whole persona that he's taken on over recently. Not so much of a fan. Like our good friend Dean Thomas said. He said when he was on the show, he said, he wished Colby would have came to him to help him with this persona that he's taken on. So, it's unfortunate that, he is polarizing. It works. I get it. But it is taking away from who he is as a fighter in some aspects, too. Because that guy, the fighter Colby Covington, is an absolute beast. And I don't think anybody can deny that.
At the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is what happens when you get in the cage in this sport. Because Colby could talk all the shit he wants. He could piss off as many people as he wants to piss off. But if he goes in there and lays an egg and gets dropped and finished by Lawler in the first round, none of that other shit means anything.
Right.
It just makes him look worse. And Colby's good in that cage. He's going to be really tough for anybody to beat. So, whether you like his talk or you don't like his talk, the only thing that really matters is what happens inside the cage, as far as I'm concerned.
Dan, who's somebody that will be a champion this time in the next year from today? That's not a champion right now, that will be a champion in the next year.
Okay, I'll give you two answers to that. One that's in the UFC already, one that is not yet in the big time. In the UFC right now, look out for Alexander Rakic. The guy is a scary, scary dude. He is one of the best strikers I've ever seen. He's uber athletic. He's strong as shit. That division is really starting to get exciting with Johnny Walker there, with Rakic's there. John Jones obviously is gonna be John Jones. But those two young guys are beasts, and I'm gonna go ahead and put him as my guy that's gonna be a champ in a year. And as far as later than that, or guys that are outside of the UFC, I'd say two of our best prospects are Danny Sabatello and Johnny Emblem. Johnny's at Bellator right now. Danny's just tearing up the local circuit as well as I've ever seen anybody do at this stage in his career. So those are the two guys I'd say look out for.
Cool. All right, I've got my question ready now, since I know this is kind of up your alley as well. So as we say, everything is pro wrestling. So what was your favorite moment in your entire watching of pro wrestling? What is that one moment that you can point to as like, that's my favorite moment in pro wrestling history?
All right. I'm not sure how many of your listeners will probably even know about it or remember it, but it would have to be Tommy Rich's heel turn in Memphis wrestling, like in 1988. Tommy Rich was the crazy good guy. Everybody loved him. Every girl wanted to go to bed with him, and he was the big star of Georgia Championship Wrestling on TBS. He went to Memphis. Jerry Lawler was the big star, had his big war against the bad guy Austin Idol in a cage match, hair against hair. And Tommy Rich is under the cage. At the end of the match, he pops up out of nowhere, jumps up, turns on Jerry Lawler, and they shave his head. And the place went absolutely crazy, and everybody wanted to kill him. And I love a good bad guy.
That's amazing. What?
Appreciate you joining us all the way across the country. We got an international flavor. Our next guest is coming to us from London, so we hitting up Dubai, London, hitting it all up.
All righty, good to be here.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to having you on again soon. We appreciate it. Best of luck to Dustin and you guys.
Thank you. Take care.
Please welcome to the Slip and Dip podcast, making his Slip and Dip debut. Former WBC super middleweight champion of the world, and he will be fighting for that belt again on September 28th at Staples Center against Anthony Durrell, Mr. David Benavidez. Appreciate you coming on, man.
I'm doing good, man. I'm very excited for the fight. I got less than, we got 4 weeks left to the fight. I've been working very hard. Diet has been really good, so, we're just looking forward to fighting.
Does it blow your mind that you could be a two-time champ before you turn 22? Like, some people don't do that their whole career. You have a chance to do it before you even turn 22.
I'm very blessed, you know what I mean? I've just been working extremely hard. I'm very blessed to be where I'm at. And, we just keep continuing the hard work.
Do you think he poses anything special or something that you're going to have to be look out for?
Well, Anthony Durrell's a great fighter, you know what I mean? So he's the champion. So it's my job to go in there and take the belt from the champion. So I'm very excited. It's gonna be a hell of a fight.
Absolutely, man. It's gonna be a hell of a fight. And I see you you've been getting a little bit of work in with Sean Porter. I saw you posting some pictures up. Saw some videos of you working with him in the gym. So what was that like? That whole experience?
It was just a one-time thing. Sean Porter called us. He said it would be a really good promotional thing to get to get some good promotion and all that. But it was a good sparring session. Obviously I'm bigger than Sean Porter. I wasn't gonna try to kill Sean Porter, so we just went in there and worked.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess a lot of people are kind of like you mentioned, you are so much bigger than him. So some people are like, well, what are you gonna get out of that kind of sparring session? But can you kind of break down the differences? It's not always about power versus power. There's techniques and different things that you could be working on.
He's a great champion, and he's there for a reason. So that's why, it's always good to work with another champion at the end of the day. So, we had great work.
Oh, I see up close how hard you prepared when you were preparing for your fight with J.D. Love up here in Dallas. What is your mindset on fight week? Because it seems like you hit anything that's talking noise to you, you ready to knock out on fight week. Was that because of the animosity with Love, or that's just your mindset?
It's like that with everybody. Last week of the fight is fight week, so we've been in camp. We've been in camp almost 3 months. So, I'm just eager to get in there and get the fight going on. All the work and all the talking was done. So imagine the guys are a little bit hungry. We're making weight. We just want to get in the fight, go back to our family. So, I'm not playing games with nobody at all. I don't care who it is. I'm not playing with nobody.
How real was that weigh-in with Love? Because that almost got real classic on media day that week. Because you were like really quiet, and then you like the Tiger, you just came out of nowhere and struck.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not playing with nobody. Leon Love, I felt like he was a little bit intimidated because he's seen I'm not playing no games. I prepare myself very well. I'm a professional and I'm a champion as well. So I prepare myself as a champion should. So maybe he didn't prepare how he was supposed to prepare. And he's seen the fire in my eyes. So that kind of threw him off, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think like that? You need that you need a little bit of animosity heading up to a fight. You need that to kind of get you going, or does it really matter to you?
I mean, yeah, I feel like that's the icing on the cake. You kind of already want to knock a guy out. So if somebody talks a little bit of shit, they say something you don't like, then that's just exactly what you need to set you off. So like every fight is personal to me. I feel like every time I'm in the ring and somebody's trying to beat me, they're trying to take the food off my plate, or they're trying to take my belt. So I'm not out here playing with nobody. I'm not at 80%. I'm at 90%. I'm always at 100% every time I'm in the ring.
100%.
How much of fighting at the Cowboy Stadium, at AT&T Stadium, in front of 50,000 people, gets you prepared for this big stage at the Staples Center that you be fighting on in 4 weeks?
Yeah, it was a big opportunity for me. You know what I mean? That being the biggest crowd I ever fought in, and I thought I was going to be a little bit nervous. But as soon as I got in the ring, I didn't feel no nerves at all. So I'm extremely ready for this fight. Coming from my last fight, being in front of the biggest crowd I've ever been in my life. So, I think that one, the AT&T Stadium's a little bit bigger than the Staples Center. So, the people at the crowd is not going to bother me. I have a lot of experience myself, so I'm ready for anything.
Do you plan on feeding off that crowd? Because the Latinos in California are a different breed. They like to fight in the stands. I've been to 4 fights in Staples Center, and I've seen at least one fight every time I go to a card in the arena. And I've been there for multiple Laker games and never seen a person throw one punch. Kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, of course, people get riled up. They get riled up. They like to support their people. So, obviously I'm Mexican, so I got a lot of my fans here. I've been training here for about 10 years. So I'm basically fighting in my backyard. So I'm expecting it to be a good turnout of fans and, a lot of support from all the people in California.
Do you put on? How close do you think you are to headline your own card? Because this be the second time you co-main under Spence.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm very close. That when they told us about this card, I said, please put me on there. It was a big opportunity for me. I love fighting on these big undercards, especially if they're pay-per-view. Because it's an opportunity to get more exposure for myself. So I don't mind fighting these cards as long as they're big cards or pay-per-view cards. I don't mind fighting them. But I feel like if everything goes good, I'm gonna headline my own card.
100%. What would you say is the fight that you've learned the most from so far in your career? I mean, obviously you haven't taken a loss, but is there one fight you can point to be like, I learned a lot from that one?
Well, the fight I've learned the most is probably the first fight with Ronald Gabriel. Obviously, because it was a big, it was a title fight. You know what I mean? It was a big title fight. 20 years old, a lot of pressure for myself. So I kind of learned how to deal with that. I kind of learned how to go through all 12 rounds, in big level fights. So, it's just, I'm still learning even to this day. We continue to work hard.
Gotcha. And you talked about conducting yourself as a professional. I'm not trying to be negative, but how much did going through the whole VADA thing help your mindset and stuff with you going forward, with you being young in this game and still got a lot? Like, you ain't got to halfway through your career, let's know your best years. Is that something that will help you in the big picture, be the person and the fighter you want to be?
It definitely made me think a lot about my career and how I can't make those types of mistakes no more. It is what it is. I went through it. I dealt with the consequences, and I came back stronger. I'm already fighting for a world title. I'm fighting for another world title. So it is what it is. Mistakes like that aren't going to be made anymore, and we just keep looking forward to the future.
How bad do you want? I know you focus on Darrell. How bad do you want to get Caleb Plant in there? Because he's been talking a lot of noise about your failed tests, about who you beat to become a champion. Basically, he don't think you should even be in the ring with him.
I mean, that's all he could talk about. All he could say is keep your nose clean. when he won his title, he won the first 6 rounds, but he got his ass beat the last 6 rounds. So, you know, I mean, he can talk all he wants to talk. I mean, him and everybody else that has a belt, you know, I'm looking forward to fighting them in the future. Whether it's this, whether it's the next fight, the one after, it doesn't matter. You know, I'm going to be extremely prepared to face whoever I need to face when the time comes.
So is September 28th about just winning, or do you have to send a statement? Are you cool with just winning to get the belt, or do you have to send a statement?
I'm never cool with just winning. I always want to set a statement. You know what I mean? People are paying good money, so I'm going in there. I'm training very hard, and I want to get a knockout. I want to knock Anthony Durrell out. You know, and so does he. You know, he says that he wants to knock me out too. So you know, we both know the stakes of this fight. We know how important this fight is for the people, and we both want to put on a great show September 28th.
100%. Yeah, man. One of the kind of crazy things I've noticed over the past few months, ever since Anthony Joshua dropped his title to Ruiz, it seems like everybody has some sort of connection to him. And I heard you talk about how you used to train a little bit together back in the day. So how long have you known him?
Well, I met Andy Ruiz when I first came out here when I was 13 years old, when I came to move to California. You know, we didn't train with him. We just sometimes we'd go run together. We'd train at Wildcard. You know, he kind of talked to my brother more, you know, obviously because they're closer in the same age. But, you know, I seen Andy Ruiz from time to time. He's a really cool person. Even to this day, he's really cool to me. You know what I mean? So much respect to him.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's just kind of crazy. One of those things. Like I was like, man, everybody knows this dude from somewhere. It seems. So,
well, you know what? Andy Ruiz has been in the game for a long time. You know, he was stuck in that contract with Top Rank. You know, so he barely got out that. You know, and this was a perfect fight for him. You know, a big opportunity, and he did what he had to do. He did what he had to do, and he took advantage of the opportunity 100%. You know, not too many people get opportunities like that and take advantage of them.
And so,
so much respect to him.
So you think he's going to retain wherever the fight ends up being?
I feel like, you know, and I'm going for him. You know, but it's going to be a good fight. You know, I mean, I think Joshua doesn't want to get knocked out, or he doesn't want to get stopped again. He doesn't want to be made look like a fool, so he's coming back extremely strong. But I think Andy Ruiz should be able to take him again.
How much of a student of the sport are you? Do you watch other people fight? Like, did you watch the Lomachenko fight yesterday, or you just focus on doing what you do?
No, I love boxing. I'm a fan of boxing at the end of the day. You know, I love Lomachenko's angles. I love how he throws body shots. He had an amazing jab yesterday. I think that's what set him apart yesterday from every fight. The jabs he were throwing were snapping Campbell's head back. You know, so it was an amazing fight. But I am a student of boxing. I love boxing so much. I love studying all the greats. You know, I love what's his name? Costa Azul is one of my favorites. Prince Nassim Ahmed, Felix Trinidad. And I'm a big fan of boxing. I'll always be a big fan.
You be watching some Hall of Famers.
Yeah, of course. That's where I grew up watching. You know what I mean? I watch a lot of the newer guys, but I like the older guys better because I have a lot of moments. You know, a lot of special moments to me when I watch boxing with my family. So, you know, I like going back to that and watching all the old guys.
What have you seen from Durrell that he's improved on since his loss to Badu Jack back in 2000, I would say 14 or 2015?
I really don't feel like he's improved on much. You know, I feel like those were his best years when he fought Badu Jack. His last fight, you know, he kind of seemed a little flat-footed. He got caught more than he should have been caught with. I thought he was going to take the Turkish guy out, you know, but I feel like there's a lot of holes in his game, in his game that I could take advantage of. You know what I mean? So that's why I feel like, you know, I'm gonna knock Anthony Durrell because I see a lot of openings. I see a lot of flaws in his game.
Man, call it his shot. Now, how much does your age play advantage in this? The fact that you, 22, young buck, not even reached your prime, and he's 34 on the backside of his career.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. I feel like I'm more motivated now. But, you know, he has a lot to prove for himself, too. You know, this is a big fight for him. He knows it's a big fight. That's why he went to Las Vegas. But I'm a veteran in the sport myself. You know, I have about 6.5 years pro now. So, I mean, I've been in big fights myself. I've been in 12 rounders, 10 rounders, 8 rounders. So I have a lot of experience myself. So I don't think him being older than me is going to have much of a factor. You know, at the end of the day, it's going to be who wants it more.
Yeah, it seems like there's a little bit of, I don't want to say animosity, but you guys are kind of, I saw at the press conference, you guys had a little back and forth, but it seems like it's a little bit respectful. So how would you categorize it?
Yeah, I mean, he's being real respectful. It doesn't need to be a freaking, we're professionals. We don't have to be douchebags all the time and talk shit about each other every chance we get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he has confidence in himself. I have confidence in myself. There's nothing more we have to say. We don't have to disrespect each other. We don't have to disrespect our families, where we're from. He's being professional. I'm being professional. I go by how people treat me. You know what I mean? So, like, it's really – people know what this fight is. It's going to be an amazing fight, and we'll prove it in the ring. We don't have to prove it outside the ring talking shit. We'll show how good of a fight it is September 28th.
So it would be safe to say you're going to be less amped up than you were for the J. Leon Love fight? Because you were amped up for that one.
No, I'm still amped up for this one. I'm just be amped up in the ring, not outside.
Gotcha. Well, we have a segment here we like to close out our interviews with now that we just started off. It's called the Quick 1-2. So Kendrick is going to hit you with the first one.
Hit you up with the Quick 1-2. Who's somebody that's not a champion today, besides yourself, that you think will have a belt over the next year in boxing? It don't matter what weight class.
I just one, or how much do I name?
All right, as many as you want.
Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, and I don't think Shakur Stevenson has a world title yet, but I think he's definitely going to get a world title soon.
Do you find a kindred spirit with them? Because y'all all the same age, basically. Y'all in that 22, 23. Like, y'all basically the next generation of boxing. Do you feel kind of like a kinship with them?
I've seen them around. I've seen all of them around. I feel like with the newer generation, we gotta show these old dogs that we're the next thing up. So that's why I kind of like them a lot, because a lot of these old guys, they try to punk us. You know what I mean? They try to scare us, but that none of that shit's gonna work. We're the new guys coming up, and we're gonna take over soon.
Gotcha. And number two is, we like to say on the show, everything is pro wrestling. Everything has a little bit of pro wrestling into it at some point. So I don't know if you're a pro wrestling fan or not, but is there any particular moment in pro wrestling that stands out to you as like your favorite thing?
Shit, I used to like Shawn Michaels a lot. He was a cool dude. Definitely some of the Rock, and then that Hell in the Cell, that shit was wild. I used to like that.
The like the Undertaker and Mankind, is that one you're talking about?
Yeah. Where he choke slammed him through the top of the cell.
Dude, that was wild.
Yeah,
he almost killed him twice that night.
Yeah.
That's legit, man. Well, David, man, thanks for coming on the show, man. We appreciate your time. We can't wait to see you go to work here on the 28th, man.
Your boy will be out there. I'll holler at you. I'll be out there all week.
Nah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys putting me on the show, man. Thank you so much for the support.
I appreciate it, brother. See you in 3 weeks. I'll be out there fight week.
All right, then. Have a nice night, guys.
Later. Please welcome back to the Slip and Dip podcast. One of the best journalists literally in the world today, pound for pound. He does a lot of combat sports. He gives it to you over there across the pond for the Daily Express and the Daily Star. Mr. Chisanga Malata. Appreciate you coming on, brother. Where you at? You're a world traveler. Like, people talk about me because I travel all over the country. You're like an international traveler. You're that guy.
Yeah, but it has its downsides as well as its perks, But thanks very much for having me back on. I'm honored to be back on.
So we'll start off with boxing. Give us some insight to the craziness that's going over there in the UK. Just had the Lomachenko fight and everything that is Eddie Hearn. The crazy thing is, I went from barely ever knowing who Eddie Hearn is. In the last month, I've done 4 one-on-one interviews with him, and 3 of them got over 1 million views. He is that guy.
He's the main man. Obviously, he's inherited the matchroom boxing from his father Barry, and he's very savvy. He knows which direction to push his fighters, in particular with the social media and with YouTube. Hence why he's given you 4 interviews in a row. He's a good promoter, and I'd arguably say he's the best in the UK. Yeah, well, without a doubt, he's the best promoter in the UK.
100%. Yeah, he understands how to connect with people and really draw emotion. Whether he's a good promoter on the actual business end or not, it doesn't matter, because the way he talks, he makes you believe everything.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, but he actually is a good promoter as well, and I think he really is one of those guys that cares about the fighters. At least.
Oh, yeah, of course.
At least.
No, I agree with that notion. I think we've all been around combat sports long enough to know and to see those people who are in fighters camps and promoters who are just taking them for a ride, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no doubt.
What you think? What's your thoughts on Loma and Campbell? There's two things. We see how good. If you didn't think Lomachenko was that guy, you know. And two, boxing people don't know shit about boxing. All the people that's blowing up by inbox. See, Floyd never went through no adversity like that. Talking about that 7th round when Loma clearly is hurt, but he clearly almost finishes the guy in the same round because he's that guy. But why do you need to go to adversity to prove how good you are? Why can't that's the job to avoid adversity? But that ain't none of my business though.
No, I completely agree with that notion, but I think it's just fans want to see fighters get tested. Well, I'll use the example over here of Anthony Joshua. Prior to the fight with Vladimir Klitschko, people were constantly saying that, oh, he hasn't been tested, he hasn't been hit, he hasn't been hurt. We'll truly see what he's made of when that happens. And I agree to that notion to an extent, but at the same time, it's about landing your blows and not getting hit. So if you can do that without going through any adversity, then more power to you.
What'd you think about yesterday's fight?
I've only watched the highlights of it. I've got up to the 7th round, but Lomachenko, just that footwork, it bamboozles everybody, man. It's all those years of dancing that his dad made him do it's paid off. It's paid off. But I will give Luke Campbell his just dues. He did very well to hang in there, and I think that he perhaps showed a few openings in Lomachenko's game, not many, but I think they're there that could be exploited, but perhaps only by a bigger guy if he does decide to go up to super lightweight, which I don't know if he will, because if you look at the size difference between him and Campbell,
he was long.
Yeah, he was so. But yeah, I thought it was from what I've seen, it was a thoroughly entertaining fight, and Luke Campbell didn't do himself a disservice.
No, it's crazy. I think he beats out anybody else in the division with that performance. He just can't beat that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, there's a reason why he holds 3 of the 4 belts. It's like I say, just trying to get your hands on him. He's like you try to throw a jab. He's already pivoted off, and he's already planning 2 moves ahead of it. But obviously boxing is a martial art, but it really is an art to watch him fight, to watch him even just to move. Even if you watch his open workouts and the footwork and everything, you're blown away by this. And it all came from dancing as well. So I think when I have a son, I'll get him into dancing before doing combat sport.
Yeah, I think the guy that excuse me. I think the guy that is gonna give him more trouble is gonna be that guy that comes out and puts him on him in the first couple of rounds, because as he in this fight you can see he's just downloading information. So you got to disrupt that. You got to disrupt that from the onset. And otherwise, it's just okay, I'm picking up on every little tell you have, and I'm just gonna pick you apart. And it is fascinating to just watch it unfold, because even the commentary, that's what they're saying. It's he's just downloading information, just waiting, just waiting.
He said that the first 2 rounds,
and that's true. I mean, if you watch any of his fights, that's exactly what he does. And then all of a sudden, come round 3, come round 4, you're getting picked apart. And
that's true.
Shout out to Campbell for at least putting up some
put some pressure on him.
Put some pressure on him, but at the same time, just because when we have. It's a thing I've been noticing a lot lately, especially in boxing, is when we have the big name face their opponent, whoever that opponent may be, whether they're a big name or not, if they provide any resistance whatsoever, they got to be winning the round. No. Campbell was landing punches, but he wasn't winning rounds.
No, that's true. That's true. And I saw some of the scorecards initially, but then when I went to watch it, it didn't necessarily correlate. I think it's just British judges, the British pundits being a bit biased towards it. But what can you expect? And to go back to your point about Lomachenko downloading information, is very Floyd Mayweather-esque in the second half of his career. Because if you remember, obviously after Floyd had multiple handbrakes, he wouldn't really engage people in firefights. He'd see what you offered him. Well, he even did this in the Conor McGregor fight. But I hate to bring up that. I use the word fight loosely, but he let Conor punch himself out. He figured out his tails. He downloaded all that information, and then he just went to work from round 6 to 10.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I think that was partially downloading information, and partially I need to make sure these fans actually get a little something before I put this dude on the mat.
No, I agree. I agree with that too. Maybe he started using the information a bit later on than he would have against anyone else.
How much is your country abuzz with the whole Anthony Joshua saga and the Saudi Arabia craziness?
Yeah, the reaction wasn't great. The reaction wasn't good, and understandably so. Personally, for me, I think the rematch should have been in New York, because if you lose your belts there, you got to go try reclaim them in the same circumstances. You can't change the scenario to better your chances of winning.
100%.
I bring up Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz too. He wanted to do it at welterweight again, but overall, British fans they were very peed off with the fact that the fight wasn't brought back to Wembley. But it's all about that money, to be honest. I think Gareth A. Davis said the Saudis came in with $100 million plus bid to host the fight, and you can't turn that type of money. You can't turn down that type of money. Sorry.
What do you think's gonna happen in the rematch?
Oh, I'm torn. I really am torn. I really am torn. Judging from the pictures that I've seen of Anthony Joshua in recent weeks, especially on Instagram, he looks like he's trimmed down a lot. He's not as bulky as he was. So perhaps he's going to try utilize a bit more movement or whatever, because that's been one of the criticisms of him in recent years, that he plods forward too much because he's a bit too muscle bound. But I don't know. Like I was saying to my colleagues beforehand, the ones who aren't too familiar with boxing, I was like, look, don't sleep on Andy Ruiz. The dude has got fast hands. I even told people, watch his open workouts. You'll see how quick his hands are. Physiques don't mean anything in this game. But they didn't listen. But for me, I'm reserving my prediction until a couple weeks, until December. I'll give my prediction. But if I was to give one right now, I'm still leaning towards Andy.
So let's switch it over to the MMA side of things. We got a big fight coming up, obviously. Dustin Poirier, Khabib Nurmagomedov going down in Abu Dhabi. A massive fight for a lot of reasons. But what are you expecting out of this? And do you think that Dustin is a guy that can stop this train that is Khabib?
I see Kendra shaking his head there. It's not just a train; it's a freight train, man. It's something else. When you actually go back and you look at Khabib's body of work, and even in the last 2 years, it speaks for itself. I mean, he dominated Edson Barboza. Granted, the Al Iaquinta fight wasn't the best. I know he's trying to jab, and I remember you saying that. Oh yeah, I was trying to emulate Muhammad Ali or whatever. But by and large, if you really wanted to get Al down, I think you could have. And then obviously the domination with Conor. Which some people still believe was a relatively close fight, but I don't even understand why people are saying that. It's difficult to look past Khabib, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are too focused on Dustin's stand-up in the build-up to this fight. I think if my memory serves me right, he's got 7 or 8 submission wins, so. You never know. He could wrap him up in something, but nobody has been able to do that once they have Khabib on there, because there's top game, there's crushing top game, and then there's Khabib's crushing top game. He literally doesn't give you an inch to move. So I think that, well, obviously Dustin's got his work cut out for him, but I also think that his striking in recent fights was a lot better than Conor's striking. So perhaps he could catch him. And I know everybody always says, "Oh, Michael Johnson stunned Khabib." Remember, that's what everybody was saying in the build up to the Conor fight. Oh, Michael Johnson stunned him. If Conor lands, that's it. But I think if Dustin does land, I think he can cause Khabib problems.
Yeah, I agree with you. He has a puncher's chance. I'm not gonna go that far, but the thing is, he gets hit too much for me to be able to say he's that guy. That's true. I agree with you. And obviously in the Holloway fight, towards the last 3 rounds, he was taking his fair share of punishment. But I don't think Khabib's stand-up is slowly but surely getting to where it should be. But I don't think it's really going to trouble Dustin that much.
Yeah. It's one of those things, man. Like you said, he does take a lot of damage, and I don't see necessarily Khabib, providing a bunch of damage on the feet. We rarely see that, but I think the fact that Dustin is going to be willing to stand in there and not be so worried about the takedown, I think that's going to be the difference maker, because we saw in that Conor fight, Conor was constantly worried about the takedown.
Yeah.
Like everything, like if Khabib even flinched, like Conor was doing like exaggerated movements, like worried about the takedown. I don't think Dustin's going to be that worried about it, because I think he'll be more willing to attack off his back, and like you mentioned, like he does have a good ground game as well. I don't know. It's a I just got to see it play out.
Yeah.
I just got to see it happen.
I know.
Just got to see it happen, man. Because Khabib is smothering, dude. He's so smothering. I don't know. I don't know.
And
he's so good.
Well, but as we were just saying there, Dustin does have a good ground game, but there very well could be that scenario where he's just pressed up against the cage, and the look that those fighters have, in particular Edson Barboza, where they're up against the cage and Khabib's on them, and they're just looking at like, what have I got myself into? This is 10 times the pressure that the best wrestler that I could get in sparring put on me. So I don't know. Hey, would I love to see a change in the guard, especially with Dustin's story? Like he's got close to the mountain so many times, he'll rack up a 3 or 4 fight win streak and then he'll lose. But obviously he got over the hill with the win over Max Holloway. I'd love to see him do it, but at this moment in time, I just don't think anybody beats Khabib. Yeah.
Chisanga, do you think that UFC need to add a lineal champion to the mix? Like, they got 2 belts, so who's the real champion? Because as you know, there's a lineal champion. There's that guy that beat the guy.
Yeah.
That's why Tyson Fury is still relevant, because he beat Klitschko, and nobody beat him.
That's true.
If they have these fake interim belts, it would be a problem. But they got them everywhere.
Yeah, and they've been so devalued. I remember. Well, I can't even remember. When was the first interim belt introduced? Was it when Dominic Cruz was injured? It must have been.
Sure, for the purpose of this conversation, we'll say that.
Yeah.
but here's the thing, too, to add to it, too, Chisanga. People like Matt get mad about it, but they don't want to do nothing about it. They want, they got these belts everywhere. That would solve having a lineal champion would put some more clarity, but they don't want to do that. That makes too much sense, though.
Well, the reason why I'm against the interim thing, because or the lineal thing, there's not anybody that's not a champion right now that would be a lineal champion. Like
Habib's a prime example. No.
He's the champion though.
But he's the guy. He's the lineal. He would be the lineal champion. But why we got an interim belt? That's like having multiple belts in boxing. He's not the undisputed champion. How are you the undisputed champion if there's an interim champion?
I understand your rhetoric there, but I'm inclined to agree with Matt on this one. I'm inclined to agree with him on that. But yeah, I don't know. I think you could perhaps introduce it as a marketing tool. I'm sure the UFC have contemplated doing this. Obviously, Dana White is originally from the boxing scene, so I'm sure he's contemplated doing this. But with the hardcore fan base like us, would we accept it? We'd be up in arms if a lineal champion was introduced.
100%. Man, I'm trying to find the history of this thing, and it is not very. The internet is not very accommodating with my Google search right now. So, like I said, we'll just stick it with that. But yeah, I mean, at least as long as if you're going to introduce an interim title, at least the very next fight has to be for the championship, to unify or however you want to say it.
100%.
I hate it when they put one out there and then they'll be like, okay, well, you got hurt or whatever. I mean, that happens. I get it. The Tony Ferguson thing. But listen, if you're going to introduce an interim title, it's got to be the next fight. There's no question about that. And I hate how we still have that question in the UFC sometimes.
That's true. It happened to Tony, and obviously it happened to Colby as well.
Yes.
And people forget about that just because of the immense dislike that they have for Colby. If you're saying that Tony Ferguson deserved to have, if he deserved to fight Khabib before Conor did, you have to. By that token, you have to say that Colby Covington deserved to fight then champion Tyron Woodley.
Exactly.
Before
if you have a lineal champion, you have some clarity. Just saying. You proving my point.
Yeah, you're pushing hard for this. You're pushing hard for this.
They only been doing it for 50-some years in the other sport, and it works. So let's not do that.
There's not anybody that wouldn't be a lineal.
If you didn't have all these random interim champions, it would be irrelevant. But you do. That's the thing.
Yeah. But the guy to beat the guy holds the belt in every division right now.
But usually the guy that, for instance, say Habib was suspended for a year. They had those fights. Habib is the lineal champion. They have to pay. They have to fight Habib. Say that they strip his belt or something. Habib would still be the lineal champion. That's basically what happened to Tyson Fury with his bench. He's still lineal champion because he never lost it in the ring.
I agree, but that's hypothetical. In reality, we don't have that situation in any division right
now. So how are you the undisputed champion when there's a lineal champion?
Not saying he's undisputed champion.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying he's undisputed. But yeah, I mean the whole thing about these interim belts. I mean, listen, if you're going to be,
that's to rectify the situation.
If you're going to be the promotion that is all about your titles, right? Where titles are supposed to mean something, like Kendrick likes this that Colby was allowed to bring his title into his last fight. Like, I'm sorry,
who else will be able to do that?
I'm sorry, but you're not the interim champion anymore. You should not be allowed to bring a belt into the ring.
I agree with Matt, but they let him do it, so that's real life.
That's true. Well, I remember you. I remember the UFC 229 fight week. Tony Ferguson was bringing his belt around, but he didn't bring it to him with the octagon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, you do whatever you want. Like, during fight week, during your interviews, do whatever you want. If you want to bring all, Demetrius Johnson, like when he finally got all 9 of his belts or whatever, shoot, if you want to bring all 9 of your belts to media day, that's fine. But when you go into the octagon, if you're not the champion, you don't get to bring a belt in there with you.
But the thing is, I don't understand is why don't they get to bring all their belts when they are the champion? That's the most random thing. He's a defending champion, and there's not even 8 belts. I know they get individual ones. They should have at least 8 belts that represent something. They only got 8 belts. I know why boxing, you got the belt holders. They got like in the background walking with them and stuff. If they want to eliminate that and be different, that's cool. But whoever the champion is, they should be able to walk to the ring with that belt. And
I agree. I agree. I agree with you. And obviously, the belt at the end of the day is. Well, obviously it's a signifier of who the best person is in the division at that moment in time, but they're also marketing tools. So why don't you have Khabib coming out with the belt on him or whatever? Yeah. People are what's the word I'm looking for? I've completely lost my point. Anyway, move on. Completely lost my point. I was going to say there.
No, I will agree with that though. Like, they definitely should. Like, if you're the champ, like you should have somebody behind you carrying it, or you should have it around your waist. You should have something to signify that, not just them saying it over the commentary as they're walking out. Because that's part of the whole visual.
Of course.
Like any other promotion. I mean, I don't know if now that I think about it, what other MMA promotions actually do that? But
Bellator don't, to my knowledge, no.
Yeah. It's a weird thing because that's that connection with pro wrestling to me. They come up with the belts. They hold up the belts. They do whatever kind of thing that they do with the belt. Whatever character it is, but they let everybody know, hey, I'm the man. And you know it because the marquee says it. You know it because the program says it. But if you're not walking out there with the belt, that's a little bit of something in the promotional thing that I think's missing.
No, I'm in agreement with you, and I mean, going back to the interim titles. Whenever there's a unification fight, they always have the interim champion with his belt on the other side of the poster. So, yeah. So why not just extend it to it, and it adds to the pageantry,
For sure.
Yeah. Well, don't. Sorry, carry on.
Or even if you got an ex-champion fighting, they say former UFC lightweight champion of the world and now number 1 contender welterweight champion of the world. It just gives that extra buzz. Because even Lomachenko with all his belts yesterday, and he gave his up to move up, they still said former junior lightweight and Carrot WBA, WBO lightweight. That just add to that, especially when you got somebody like Floyd or one of these like a John Jones.
Yeah,
it just adds to that allure when they come out. Because I remember when Floyd fought Canelo, they went through all his accomplishments, and it takes like a minute. It's on YouTube because you got Michael Buffer, former lightweight, former junior lightweight, former Junior welterweight, and current. No, he skipped it because they thought he skipped welterweight and they went to super welterweight. They fought 154, actually 152. But it just adds to our lure. Like, man, if you didn't know who Floyd was, like, what the hell has he been doing? Let me Google this guy.
No, exactly. You've said it perfectly there. You've said it perfectly. And then therein, when the casuals see that, then it grows the interest in the sport. So it's a very valid point that you're making. I agree with you. Next UFC Media Day, I'll pitch it to someone. I'll pitch it to someone.
100%.
But I'll credit the Slip and Dip podcast as like these guys came up with it first.
100%. Yes. Need our credit, man. Need our credit. Now, so what else on the horizon is interesting to you in the MMA side of things? Because obviously this is the biggest fight in at least in the next, immediate future, obviously with the 155 division. But is Covington Usman a big thing in your eyes, or what else is on the horizon is really interesting to you?
I think it is, but you're forgetting the middleweight title unification fight between Whitaker and Adesanya. That's going to be a big fight. That's going to be a big fight. At this moment in time, I'm leaning towards Rob. I'm leaning towards Robert in this fight, even though I don't think he beat Yoel Romero in the second fight. Are we in agreement on that?
Yeah. I went to both of them, which is crazy because I wasn't supposed to be in neither one of them. I go to both of them, which is crazy. Because the first one, I was supposed to be at the first one. It was supposed to have been in the main event. It got elevated, remember? And then the second one was just crazy.
Yeah, Yoel definitely won the second fight, 100%. That's why even Paulo Costa the other week said, "Oh yeah, he's the champion. Like he beat Whitaker." Yeah, but I just think with that matchup between Adesanya and Whitaker, Rob is very good at closing the distance and he's deceptively quick. So I think that will cause Israel some trouble. But then again, Israel's dynamic striking it will pose Robert a problem in itself.
I think the surgeries are going to take a toll. All these injuries and stuff. I don't think we're going to see that same Robert that we saw in the UL fights. And going through those two wars, he's got way more miles on his body. I think I always lean towards the younger man. And Adesanya made a fan of me with the Kelvin fight because we didn't see him get hit in the mouth. So he's fighting like a champion. So props to him. I think he's going to officially be that guy in 2 weeks.
Oh, I think UFC I think secretly they're banking on that to happen because if you look at it from their point of view with Whitaker, they have a champion who, through no fault of his own, is not that active, and he isn't really much of a personality in the media, which you can't fault him for. He is who he is. But then you flip the coin and you look at Adesanya. He had how many fights last year? Was it 4 or 5?
4 or 5.
It was 4 fights. I mean, he's got a good social media game. He's got the looks, and also could be a further gateway into Africa for them. So I think secretly they obviously the UFC they never say, oh yeah, we want so and so to win or whatever. But I think they'd be hoping for Adesanya to win.
Yeah, 100%. If Adesanya wins and they don't have UFC Africa announced within the next month, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, well, I was speaking to who was it? Dave Shaw, the VP of International, and he was saying that obviously they have a TV deal in place in Africa with SuperSport, but at this moment in time, they don't think they'll be able to do it for maybe another year or 2 years. But I think surely. If Adesanya wins, or just even in general, just with the crop of African fighters that they have Adesanya, they have Usman, obviously a champion, they have Francis Ngannou, they have Don Madge as well. You can already you can go to there. You can go to South Africa, and South Africa is obviously a developed country. Some people still don't believe that just through ignorance, But yeah, you can easily host an event there if you wanted to. So. I think it's a massive hole in their overall global strategy that they're missing. And I mean, look at the investment that they put in China just over the weekend. Obviously, they were banking on Weili Zhang beating Jessica Andrade, and obviously she delivered. And I don't know if you saw some of the Google stats that Kevin Iole was tweeting about the search for Weili Zhang. It's been exponential. I think like on Twitter or what's the Chinese version of Twitter? I don't know. Is it Weibo? I don't know what it is.
Sounds right.
There were 300. Yeah, there were 300 million hashtags of Weili Zhang. So the UFC are on the winner. The UFC are onto a winner there. But well, if you remember the impact Yao Ming signing had in the NBA. At the time. So they're onto a winner there.
It's huge. I mean, like you said, they banked on it. They banked on it and it cashed out. You know, they got to do the same with Africa now, though. Yeah. The fighters are there.
Yeah, they do.
They got to do the same.
Chisanga, do you think that fight, basically that fight to me was a carbon copy of Nunes Cyborg, with Nunes being played by Weili Zhang and Cyborg being played by Chisanga Andrade?
I didn't see it that way. I didn't see it that way until you said it. But well, obviously it only lasted 42 seconds. But Jessica Andrade, she just marches. Well, that's her style. She just marches forward. But I think she didn't really respect Weili's power and her precision, and she paid dearly for it.
100%.
But it is basically a carbon copy of Nunes and Cyborg.
yeah, it was a good fight. I mean,
you guys think we see that?
What's that?
I was saying, I was going to ask, do you think that we're going to see Cyborg Nunes too then?
Oh, I wish, but apparently it seems like Cyborg is completely done with the UFC. You know, she posted that little cryptic Instagram post the other day with her, you know, sitting on top of the cage and said something like "bye-bye" or whatever. Oh, I forget what she said exactly. I don't want to misquote it, but that's unfortunate. I think we won't get that fight, and I think we do deserve it. Think we deserve it. I think the outcome will be the same, but it is what it is. And for strawweights, I think the strawweight thing is that there's no division. There's been no division since its inception that has produced more exciting title fights than 115 pounds.
No, exactly. I agree with you. I think still to this day the most exciting one of those was when Rose dethroned Joanna at MSG. That was
we were 2 seats from each other. I'm pretty sure he had to catch me. I could not believe that my girl. I told you, somebody that's really close to Ronda Rousey had tipped me off on Wednesday by little stuff like, man, JJ.
I remember you saying that. Yeah, I remember you saying that.
He literally said JJ looked talking and acting like Ronda before she got that head kicked off in Australia. I was there in person. He said it 2 or 3 times. I didn't believe it until I saw Rose put them hands on her.
Yeah, man, that fadeaway check hook, man, and then I think that was the biggest holy F moment of the card that night.
Oh yeah,
bigger than
Cody
bigger than
Jordan, TJ,
Michael, and bigger than Cody, TJ. Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
But yeah, you're right. So it was short. So Joanna and Rose, then you have Jessica and Rose. That was a crazy finish. I wonder if Rose's neck is still even alright from that now. And then you've had obviously this past weekend as well. I'm trying to think what other title fights have produced in that division. Off the top of my head, I can't think at this moment.
I mean, just Joanna's run was amazing.
Yeah, Joanna, remember when she got down 2-0 to Claudia the second time and had to win all 3? It was that Friday on fight night, fight week. It was that Friday. She clearly won all 3.
She clearly won all 3. Yeah, Gadelha was dominating, man, and then she just came back. Yes,
100%.
I hope we see Joanna come back in that.
Yeah, I think she.
I really do.
Yeah, we're friends with Karate Hottie, but I think she's too small for her. And now Joanna's gonna be extra motivated because she knows she beats Michelle. She's gonna get that title shot, and I think whatchamacallit, Weili, it's gonna be too little for her.
You think?
I think. Yeah. Well, Weili's ain't gonna be too big for Michelle, right?
No, she's gonna be too little for. She's gonna be too little for Joanna.
Who's gonna be too little for Joanna?
Weili.
Weili.
Oh, you think Weili's gonna be too little for Joanna? Oh, I don't agree with that. Because Weili is solid.
She's solid for like her. She got a compact build, but like she's not like Valentina build, like a tank.
Oh no, she's not that big, but I mean she's solid. Like just watching that, how she just stood in that pocket with Andrade and was like, no, get in this clinch. Eat these knees. Eat these elbows.
Yeah, don't need that. Her entire game was on point yesterday.
Yeah, that tie clinch. Dare I say, I don't think I've seen as good a clinch since since the Anderson Silva, Rich Franklin.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that was the way he just held it, and just the short elbow was just it was nasty. It was nasty.
100%.
All right, and you were asking about Kobe Usman if that's a big fight. Yeah, 100% it is. I think that's going to main event MSG, right? I don't think it's been announced, right?
Yeah,
I
nothing
think
signed yet. Nothing signed yet, but
All
that's what they're targeting. Yeah.
What do you think about Kobe? I know you're not American, but what do you think about all the craziness that Kobe been doing? That's people like my man Matt about to fall in the seat. we got people making dirty comments about his manga gimmick. His Matt calls it. It's just crazy. Like people are. It's like if he's for him to be a character, he get a lot of real emotions to be a fake character. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you. Nobody really was paying attention to him beforehand because he was on a like 4, 5 wins or even 6 fight win streak, and he was just obviously quietly going about his work in the division, but he wasn't getting any recognition. And then I think he took a page out of the McGregor book, so to say, and he realized that he needs to get people invested in his fight. And there's no better way of doing that than becoming a controversial figure, a hate figure. I mean, just look at what Floyd did when he went from Pretty Boy to Money Mayweather. So, the whole MAGA stick, from what I've heard, the people who interact with Kobe, he's actually a very, very nice guy. And obviously, like I've seen he does stuff with the troops and things like that. But personally, for me, I don't like seeing politics coming into the fight game. But I can't help but say I'm a tiny bit entertained by this, if you know what I mean. Maybe it's because obviously I don't live in the States, so it doesn't have as much as an emotional impact on my soul. But it's kind of entertaining. And the Kurt Angle theme tune when he fought Robbie Lawler, come on, you must have enjoyed that.
100%. Yeah, it was entertaining for sure. Definitely entertaining. Like it's entertaining on some levels. It's frustrating on some levels, but it is what it is.
I think it's funny because, like I said, we got this guy with this fake persona getting some real ass emotion out of folks all across the board. It's funny to me.
That's what gimmicks are designed to do, though.
I will go on record to say the Kobe, the whole Matt Hughes thing was. That was too much. That was far too much.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He struck some motion out of you too over there across the pond when he did that.
I mean,
I guess I'm the person. I don't take him seriously. It's like he's a clown. Well, I'm gonna get upset. He's a clown.
Yeah. No, that's true, and I think Matt Hughes saw the funny side of it as well. So
it makes him relevant.
I also think. Yeah, I also think he didn't want to clap back at him because obviously he has his own skeletons in the closet that are coming to light now.
Boxing or MMA, who's a person that does not have a belt today that you think will have a belt over the next calendar year?
Okay, next calendar year. Okay, in MMA, I'm gonna go with Cody Garbrandt. I think at this moment in time, obviously he's riding the 3-5 skid, but he's taken his time to get back to full health. And I think with the right matchups and the current state of the division, the bantamweight division, he could very well get the undisputed title or an interim title, dare I say, because obviously we don't know what's going on with Henry Cejudo. And in boxing, I think Tyson Fury will have the WBC heavyweight title by this time next year.
Okay, I like it. All right, my question is, as we say that pro wrestling is everything. There's a lot of pro wrestling in our combat sports. So, what is the one moment, if you're a fan of pro wrestling, what's your favorite moment in pro wrestling history that you can point to?
Oh, my favorite moment in pro wrestling history. Okay, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I can't remember which WrestleMania it was, but it was one when it was at the Astrodome. Was it WrestleMania 20? It was Stone Cold.
18, I think 18 was the Astrodome.
18 was the Astrodome. Okay, that now my memory is returning. When Stone Cold turned heel and teamed up with Vince McMahon, I remember staying up and watching that. I don't know how old I was. I must have been about like 12 or 13 at the time, and I remember just yelping at the TV at whatever time in the morning, because obviously the pay-per-views are the same time as UFC pay-per-views. over here. And that moment for me was, that was probably the biggest shock in WWE history for me. And that is still vivid in my memory. And I even remember. You remember the Limp Bizkit montage that they had with the Rock and Stone Cold in the build up to that?
Yes.
Yeah. But when I see that, I still kind of get like goosebumps. I know it's childish or whatever, but that's for me. That's my favorite WWE or pro wrestling moment.
I like it, man. I like it. That was prime Jim Ross too, man. Oh my God.
It was.
That's dope.
It was 17. My bad. It was 17. Let's make it 17.
17. Okay.
Cool. Well, it's Chisanga, man. Thanks for the time. We appreciate you as always, man, joining us on the show. It's always fun catching up with you, talking some combat sports, boxing, and MMA. Fun time as always, man.
Cheers, Matt and Kendrick. Thanks very much for having me on. Speak to you soon.
Hey, we're gonna hit you up before Joshua Ruiz give us that temperature across the pond over in December.
I will do, man.
All right.